When you were 4 years old, you could draw anything. You didn't care if it looked like a person or a potato. You sang without wondering if you were off key. You asked questions that didn't have answers, and that was perfectly fine. You weren't trying to be good. You weren't trying to impress anyone. You were just creating, for the pure joy of the act itself. There was no outcome you needed to achieve. There was no grade at the end. There was no judgment. Just you and the thing you were making and the endless possibility of what it could be. Somewhere between then and now, something died inside you. And I'm not being poetic, I'm being literal. Your creativity didn't disappear. It didn't fade away. It was systematically dismantled, piece by piece, year by year, by a system that was never designed to help you become more fully human. It was designed to do the exact opposite. This is the story of how education became the world's most effective creativity killer, and why you need to know this, not as academic information, but as permission, as an explanation, as the beginning of your reclamation. Let's start with a simple question. Why do children stop asking why? The average 4-year-old asks over 300 questions per day. That's one question every 3 minutes. From the moment they wake up to the moment they sleep, they're curious. They want to understand how the world works. Why is the sky blue? Why do birds have wings? Why do we have to eat? Why can't I touch the sun? Why? It's relentless. It's exhausting for adults, but it's beautiful. It's the mark of a truly alive human being. By the time they're teenagers, that number drops to 0. Not one question, nothing. Just silence, just acceptance, just the assumption that the answers are already there, somewhere, and it's not their job to find them. It's their job to wait for someone to tell them. This isn't evolution. This isn't growth. This isn't the natural progression of becoming a mature adult. This is conditioning. This is what happens when you spend 7, 8, 10, 12 hours a day in an environment designed to eliminate curiosity. Think about the structure of a classroom. Really think about it. A teacher stands at the front. They have the answers. They have the knowledge. They are the authority. Your job is to absorb those answers, not to question them, not to improve them, not to imagine what if there were different answers. What if there's a better way? What if the answer changes based on perspective? Just absorb. Sit down. Be quiet. Listen. Take notes. Memorize. This structure repeats every single day, every single class, for years. Creativity thrives in open questions. It flourishes in uncertainty. It needs room to explore dead ends. It needs permission to fail. It needs space to wonder what happens if you try something that doesn't make sense. But the classroom model is built on the opposite. Closed questions with one correct answer. Certainty, efficiency, speed. Here's a specific example. When you're 7 years old and you paint a tree purple, not because you're making a mistake, but because in your imagination that's what you see, what happens? A creative adult, a truly creative person says, "I love how you see the world differently. Tell me about your tree. Why did you choose purple? What were you thinking?" A teacher says, "Trees are green. Let's use the correct color." Those seem like small moments. They're not. They're foundational moments. What the teacher is teaching you is not about colors. It's about obedience. It's about fitting in. It's about the correct answer being more important than your imagination. And crucially, it's teaching you that your perception is wrong. By age 12, you've been corrected thousands of times. Not because you were fundamentally wrong about how reality works, but because you were different. You saw things differently. You approached problems differently. And in an institutional setting, different is a problem. The message seeps deep into your consciousness, almost below the threshold of awareness. Different equals wrong. Wrong equals bad. Therefore, different equals bad. So what does a smart 12-year-old do? They adapt. They're intelligent, so they figure out the game quickly. They stop trying things that might be different. They stop suggesting unusual ideas in class discussions. They color inside the lines. And most importantly, they stop asking questions that don't have textbook answers. They learn to be safe. They learn to be predictable. They learn that the real skill is not thinking for yourself, but thinking in the way the system expects you to think. We call this maturity. We say, oh, you're becoming an adult now. You're settling down. You're focusing on what matters. We call it fitting in. We celebrate it. You're such a good student. You follow the rules. You respect authority. We call it becoming a functional member of society. We speak about it like it's an achievement. What we've actually done is convince you that safety matters more than authenticity, that fitting in matters more than standing out, that following the rules matters more than following your intuition. And here's where it gets really subtle, because the system doesn't openly crush creativity. It doesn't say, we're going to destroy your ability to imagine. It's way more sophisticated than that. The education system presents creativity as optional. It's like an elective, something you can do if you want to, if you have time, if you've finished all your real work. You can be creative on your own time, they say, after you finish your real work, after you pass your real tests, after you've secured your real future. Then, if you want, you can be creative. But here's the thing about your own time when you're in school. There is no own time. There's homework, mountains of it. There's test prep. There's the crushing anxiety that every moment you're not studying is a moment you're falling behind. There's the pressure to get good grades so you can get into a good school, so you can get a good job, so you can have a good life. Your schedule doesn't have free space. It has obligations. It has due dates. It has benchmarks and metrics and things you need to achieve. So creativity gets postponed until after exams, until after graduation, until after college, until after securing a job, until after you've paid off your student loans, until after you've established your career, until after. And by the time you have actual time, by the time you've checked all the boxes and completed all the requirements, you've forgotten what you wanted to create. You've forgotten that feeling of pure, purposeless joy that creation brings. You've forgotten that there was ever anything inside you that wanted to come out. Here's what the education system is really built to produce: compliant workers, not creative thinkers, not problem solvers who think differently, not visionaries, not people who see what could be instead of accepting what is. Workers who follow procedures, meet deadlines, and don't ask too many questions. And this isn't conspiracy. This isn't some hidden agenda. It's not secret. It's literally the original purpose of the education system. The Prussian education system, which is what most modern education is based on, was designed in the 1800s to create something very specific: compliant soldiers and efficient factory workers. This wasn't random. This wasn't an accident. It was intentional. The goal was to take individual children and transform them into uniform units that could follow orders, that could endure repetitive work, that wouldn't question authority. Schools were built to look like factories. Bells rang to indicate when you should start and stop. You moved from station to station. You did the same thing over and over. You were taught to value efficiency over creativity, obedience over autonomy, the group over the individual. That was 200 years ago. The world has changed. Factories have changed. The economy has changed. The skills we need have changed completely. But the education system? It's almost identical to what it was then.
We inherited a system designed for a world that no longer exists, a world of factories and manual labor and repetitive tasks, and we're still using it like it's the blueprint for success in a world that needs innovation, creativity, problem solving, and original thinking. It's like we're trying to prepare people for a job market that hasn't existed in 50 years. And then we're shocked when students feel unmotivated, depressed, anxious. And here's the tragedy, the real tragedy. The jobs of the future, the jobs that are actually going to be meaningful, that are going to pay well, that are going to matter, don't need compliant workers. They need people who can think differently. People who can see problems nobody else sees. People who can imagine solutions that don't exist yet. People who can create. But the system can't teach you that, because that would mean it would have to question itself. And institutions rarely do that. They're designed for self-preservation, not for transformation. So it does the opposite. It tells you that your creativity is a bonus, something nice to have, like a hobby, like painting on weekends or playing music as a side project. As if you, being fully human, using all of your capacities, all of your potential, is optional. As if the most essential part of what makes you alive is something you can do after you've taken care of the real important things. What's wild is how many of you have internalized this. You genuinely believe that creativity is something other people do, that it's a talent you either have or you don't, that it's not for you, that it's not practical, that it's a luxury for artists and musicians and people who have the privilege of not needing to make a living. You've accepted the system's framing so completely that you don't even question it anymore. The Prussian system was designed for a different era. It served its purpose. But we're not in that era anymore. We're in an era where the ability to think creatively is not a bonus, it's essential. It's the skill that separates people who adapt and thrive from people who get left behind. But because the system hasn't changed, millions of people graduate every year without ever really experiencing what it's like to create something just because they wanted to solve a problem in a way nobody had thought of before, to imagine something new into existence. And so the cycle continues. People grow up without access to their own creativity. They become parents. They send their children to schools. Those schools teach the same Prussian model. Those children grow up without access to their creativity, and the system reproduces itself generation after generation. Think about what this means for your life specifically. Think about all the ideas you never explored, all the problems you could have solved differently, all the ways you could have approached your work with more originality and joy. All of that was sacrificed on the altar of a system that was never designed to help you become your best self. It was designed to make you manageable. But here's what they didn't tell you when they were training you to conform: that creativity isn't a skill you lose, it's a skill you suppress. There's a critical difference. One is permanent, the other is just a choice you're making every day, just a habit, just an agreement you've made with yourself, probably without even realizing it. The 9-year-old version of you who loved to create and imagine and play and experiment, that person didn't disappear. They're still there. They're just quiet. They're just waiting. Maybe they're waiting for permission. Maybe they're waiting for the rules to change. Maybe they've just gotten really good at being invisible. When you were a kid, before the system fully colonized your mind, you knew something that adults have forgotten: that you were allowed to try things, that failure was information, not humiliation, that being different was interesting, not dangerous. You understood implicitly that the process mattered more than the product, that the joy was in the making, not in the having made something, that there was no such thing as failure if you were learning. That kid is still inside you, not dead, not gone, just quiet, just waiting for permission. And I'm here to tell you something radical. You don't need that permission anymore. You were never supposed to need it. It was never supposed to be something that had to be granted to you by an external authority. It was always yours. It always belonged to you. See, the system needs your fear of being wrong. It needs your belief that there are correct answers and incorrect answers. It needs your anxiety about standing out. It needs your desire to fit in. These are the chains that keep it functional. Without your fear, without your compliance, without your willingness to accept that there's one right way, the whole system falls apart. The moment you stop being afraid of being wrong, the system loses its power over you. And here's the thing, being wrong is not actually a problem. It's how we learn. It's how we figure things out. It's how we discover what works and what doesn't. Because creativity isn't dangerous. It's not impractical. It's not a distraction from what matters. It's the only truly practical skill. It's how humans solve new problems. It's how we've always solved new problems. Every major innovation in human history came from someone being willing to be wrong, to imagine something different, to try something that might not work. The Wright brothers weren't engineers, they were bicycle mechanics. They didn't have the credentials or the authority. They just had the audacity to imagine something different. Steve Jobs didn't invent the computer. He imagined what a computer could be for people who weren't engineers. He had the creativity to see a problem nobody else saw and imagine a solution that didn't exist yet. Throughout history, the people who changed things weren't the people who followed the rules most perfectly. They were the people who were willing to break them, who were willing to imagine something different, who were willing to be creative. The system tells you to wait for someone with a title to give you instructions. Wait for the expert. Wait for the authority. Wait for someone to tell you what to do. But real change has never come from following instructions. It's come from people who had the audacity to imagine something different and then make it real. And that's available to you right now, not in the future, not after you've finished all your obligations, right now. So what do you do now? You start small. You do something creative today with no purpose except the act itself. No product, no outcome, no validation needed. No one even has to see it. The point is not to become an artist. The point is to remember, to remind yourself that you're allowed, that you have this capacity, that it's still there. Paint something ugly. Paint it on a piece of paper you're going to throw away. It doesn't matter if it's terrible. Write something nobody will read. Write it in a journal that you're going to burn. Create something that fails spectacularly. Build something that falls apart. The point isn't the result. The point is that you're remembering. You're remembering that you're allowed to try things that might not work. You're remembering that failure is information, not humiliation. You're remembering that you're allowed to be different. You're remembering that the process matters more than the product.
And the beautiful thing is, once you do it once, something shifts. You start to realize that the fear was worse than the actual failure. You start to realize that creating things is actually available to you, that it's not reserved for other people, that you have access to it. And then you do it again, maybe the next day, maybe a week later. You create something else with no purpose, no outcome, no validation, just because you want to. And slowly, slowly, you start to remember who you are. The kid who was curious, the kid who saw the world differently, the kid who had ideas, the kid who was alive. The education system stole your creativity. It taught you to be afraid of being different. It taught you to wait for permission. It taught you to postpone the things that matter until you've completed the things that don't really matter. But here's the secret. You get to steal it back. You get to reclaim it. You get to remember it. And the best time to start is right now. Not next week, not after you finish this project, not after you've achieved the next goal. Right now. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for the perfect time. Don't wait for someone to tell you you're allowed. The system already had its chance. It got years and years to teach you to be compliant. It got the most critical years of your life. It taught you to doubt yourself. It taught you to postpone. It taught you to wait. This is your turn. This is your rebellion. This is your revolution. And it starts so simply. It starts with a piece of paper and a pen. It starts with not caring if it's good. It starts with remembering that you're allowed. Your creativity is not a luxury. It's not optional. It's not something you do after you've completed your real responsibilities. It's not a hobby. It's your birthright. It's the most essential part of what makes you human. You were born creative. You were born with the ability to imagine, to see the world differently, to solve problems that don't have solutions yet, to make things, to create. The system tried to teach you otherwise, but that doesn't mean it worked. That doesn't mean it has to stay that way. You get to choose every single day. You get to choose whether you're going to live according to the rules the system taught you or whether you're going to create your own rules. Start today. Not next week, not next year. Today. Do something creative. Make something. Break something. Try something. Fail at something. Succeed at something. It doesn't matter. The point is that you're doing it. The point is that you're remembering. This is your time now. This is your creativity to reclaim. This is your life to create. The education system taught you to wait, but you don't have to wait anymore. You can start creating right now. This moment, this very moment is when your life can begin to change. Not the system, not the world. Your life, your creativity, your possibility. That's available to you, and it's available right now.